we're effectively run in this country via the Democrats, via our corporate oligarchs, by a bunch of childless cat ladies.
I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. We can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
President Trump won the nomination of the Republican Party. He said it to you, and he said it repeatedly, that his goal is not to block mifepristone, it's to let states make the decision on abortion policy.
But these guys are just weird. That's where they are. So it isn't much else. Don't give them the power. Look, are they a threat to democracy? Yes. Are they going to take our rights away? Yes.
Those are some of the most noteworthy and controversial comments from VP candidates Tim Walz and JD Vance. Two Midwest men, both touting their humble roots, but whose perspectives couldn't be more different. Set to face off on Tuesday, and you can watch it right here on NewsNation. Can Minnesota Governor Tim Walz push for a new generation of leadership in Kamala Harris? He could lean on his experience in the state, also serving in Congress, also highlighting his rural roots, a gun owner, a teacher, a coach serving in the National Guard, though he did face questions about some of his statements about serving in his retirement. Ohio Senator JD Vance could also lean into his military service as a veteran of the Iraq War. He has helped Republicans shape a working man message. He is an absolutist on abortion restriction. So far this election cycle, his comments on childless cat ladies and doubling down on false claims of migrants eating pets have been bumps in the road. Can he land his message come Tuesday? The debate rules are a little bit different this time around. Microphones will not be muted for the entire 90 minutes, even when the other candidate is speaking. So what could be in store for Tuesday's showdown? Well, right here on NewsNation Prime, we're doing our own quick mock debate between the parties, hearing both perspectives and likely arguments. So standing in tonight for JD Vance, we have the president of Faith Wins and former South Carolina GOP chairman, Chad Connelly. And then standing in for Tim Walz is former U.S. Assistant Attorney under Ronald Reagan and Democratic strategist David Katz. We're also bringing in Niall Stanage from thehill.com to help me moderate all of this. So thank you all for being here. I know I have a couple questions. Niall does as well. Chad, we start with you. So Vance has been in hot water for his comments about childless cat ladies. How does the campaign reach out to female voters when it is busy playing defense?
Well, Natasha, good to see you tonight, and happy to be here. I don't think it has to work very hard because the economy is so bad that all Americans, all taxpaying Americans know that we're in trouble. Our economy's not good. In fact, Governor Walz said on TV the other day, we can't have 4 more years of this, and they're the ones who've created this. This is a Democratic mess. You know, my point is, I think that Americans ought to look at Governor Walz and see 3 reasons he's not qualified to be vice president and run an administration. Number 1 is that lie about serving in combat. I'm a military person too, but I'm careful to say I never had to be shot at. Number 2, Tim Walz had an opportunity to shut down all the violence and the rioting in Minneapolis. If you saw that congressional testimony from that female police officer, she was heartbroken that Governor Walz issued a standard from the highest seat in the government in Minnesota to stand down and let them take the precinct. That led to all the rioting all over America.
Chad, I want to jump in quickly because you're doing something very well that I expect these candidates will do on Tuesday, which is talking about an entirely different point and flipping the script. But can I just refocus us very quickly? Does Vance have a problem with women voters?
No, because they're paying bills too. You know, let's face it, people are hurting out there. I was in my church today, and look, this is the 3rd thing that Walz and Harris have failed at. Show some leadership. Get down to Western North Carolina that's been destroyed. I talked to 3 different ministries today that are getting supplies, having to be helicoptered in because the area has been destroyed. So he didn't have a problem because the reality is Americans are hurting, and the Harris-Biden administration is doing nothing except having more of the same as their solutions. Americans are having...
So Chad, I hear it comes down to the economy for you. Let's stay with that. David, over to you. The economy obviously top of mind for voters. We know that during his time as governor of Minnesota had one of the highest income tax rates in the country, nearly 10% for individuals making more than $164,000. So with inflation impacting every single American, you know, does this Walz track record give Americans pause that the Harris-Walz ticket will raise their taxes?
Well, you know, Natasha, Niall's great to be with you. I'd love to have patriotic symbols behind me, but I'm actually on a staircase right now during a Kamala Harris rally here in Los Angeles. It's so raucous. There's such overwhelming support for her. I think I found the only quiet place in the building on this stairwell. So it's great to be with both of you. And as to the economy is getting better. We have an economy, yes, prices were up because there was huge demand after the pandemic. Anyone who would have been president then would have had inflation. But we have inflation that's coming down. We have prices that are coming down. We're the envy of Europe, the stability of our economy. The stock market is up. All the people with pensions can give praise to Kamala Harris and Joe Biden that their pension funds are up, and the economy is secure. We're doing very well in this country. And this idea that, we have some kind of like looming recession and Trump is running on it. He wants to run on this like he did like he did before, but he doesn't have it. The facts are not with him right now. The facts are against him. And I think that Vance has a huge problem with women. And I think that the swing voters, the suburban voters, women who care about women having the right to their own bodies, not having the government tell them what to do, will swing this election. And I think actually Kamala Harris is going to win in a romp. Maybe because I'm at the rally
David, I hear you. I want to get Niall in here. Niall, over to you.
Thanks, Natasha. David, let me jump in here and let's stay focused on the vice presidential debate. So Governor Walz says that he misspoke about carrying weapons into war during his military career. And in fact, he didn't see combat action. Now, that's a personal matter, but it comes while stakes are so high right now in the Middle East, so high between Ukraine and Russia. And of course, we have tensions remaining very elevated in the Pacific as well with China. So on that big picture, why should the American people trust Governor Walz over Senator Vance, who is, after all, also a veteran?
Well, I think that Governor Walz, we have to realize, spent over 20 years serving his nation in uniform. And I think that that's very important when you contrast him, let's say, with Trump, who never served a day. He never worked a day for the government, the military. I was an assistant U.S. attorney under President Reagan. People always say, isn't Reagan like Trump? No, because the people who didn't like what Reagan was doing still liked Reagan. And even the people who like what Trump is doing on some things think that Trump has gone way overboard, and his obnoxiousness is itself an issue. And we don't
hold on, David. The question is why they should trust Governor Walz. Why should they trust him?
Well, when it comes to the foreign affairs, they've taken the right course. We've taken the right course with this administration in Ukraine. Thank goodness someone has stood up to Putin, and that the would-be Putins of the world understand that they can't just take huge chunks of Europe. There's been nothing like this in decades. We have to stand up against expansionist Putin. In the Middle East, we have to strike the right balance and to take Israel's side overwhelmingly, even in Gaza, to say that they can have these buster bombs and everything else and to not rein them in at all. That's not the United States that we cherish. We have to be a fair arbiter over there in the Middle East. And we are standing up to China. Trump looked like
Thanks, David. Sorry, we'll have to cut you off so we can get one more question into Chad, but I appreciate those comments. Chad, Senator Vance has been famously on the record criticizing President Trump in the past. Let's just take a listen to that.
I'm a never Trump guy. I never liked him. I can't stomach Trump. I think that he's noxious and is leading the white working class to a very dark place.
Chad, how can Senator Vance distance himself from those comments that were so emphatic? Doesn't it hurt his credibility with undecided voters?
Well, it goes to trust, right? And I think what President Trump did is he proved himself. When people look back and see the Trump policies worked for the most Americans, unemployment was record low, employment itself was record highs, inflation was record low, people had jobs, they were happy. Y'all, I was in 4 different states last week with 4 different Uber drivers. None of whom I'd have said, hey, that's a Republican voter. And they all talked about the ability to trust Trump's policies because they work for the most Americans. That's why you can see it, because JD Vance changed like an awful lot of other people did.
Just a preview of some of the fireworks I know we're going to see on Tuesday. Gentlemen, we're out of time, but this has been a lot of fun. Thanks for playing ball with us. Chad Connelly, David Katz, and of course, Niall Stanage as co-moderator here. Thank you so much.